Hey everybody, happy Black Friday. I'm building another compost bin because those ones out there are filled up pretty good. I gotta say, I've filled them I think 3 times now. I don't know if you can tell from here, but they've sunk down. There's about two of these worth of free space in the top of that. They've crushed themselves down about 3 times, but we finally got a frost the other day. I'll walk out and give you the bird's eye view, I guess. We got a frost the other day. You can see what finally happened. All the tomatoes have finally died, and the peppers and such. So I got to build a new compost hoop so that we can get these plants yanked out and start preparing to overwinter the boxes and see what our soil levels are. I do plan on building a couple of new planters to get rid of those. Some of these you can see, like this one over here. I think this is its 3rd year, and this is in really bad shape. That's all split out, and the height of the planter has actually shrunk. You can see that's all soil that's just blowing out at the bottom of it. So we're gonna rebuild. We're gonna build a couple of, or at least one large planter, replace 2 of these and get it out here. So I gotta get going on that. But anyhow, yeah, you can see this a little better. Added some soil to the top of the mound, cleaned it up a little bit. This is all finished compost. This is going to get taken over to the corn patch once I get that dug out. But you can see how much this has, I guess it's actually down about here. You can see how much it's sunk down. And both of these initially were filled with grass, and then we threw in pine needles and leaves, and then more pine needles and leaves, and then some tomato stuff, and then pine needles and leaves again. But it's all crunching down pretty good. We're getting close to being time to treat the trees. I haven't had a chance to get out and buy the oil yet, but we're getting close to that. And we did have a catastrophic failure on the chicken tractor that I need to rectify, but I don't have 2x4s just yet to get to it. So anyhow, we'll see in a minute. So these compost hoops, basically what I did is I determined how big I wanted them to be, and really just by holding one spot open and then rolling the wire out until I had a circle about as big as I wanted it, and then I just counted the squares. So these are 54 squares, but for holding them together, when you cut one side, if you leave the wire along the outside of it, you cut the other side and you leave a spike hanging like that, then all you have to do is take a pair of pliers and you can twist, come on, focus, you can twist the wire back around itself. And normally I use a pair of pliers for this, but that's just to make it as tight as possible. You can wrap that a few different directions so that it holds itself in place and it's not going anywhere. There's no zip ties, there's no sharp ends. I could come back if I wanted and like tie these in like that. I don't really think that it's needed, but especially if you just a little bend in it. Anyway, so one roll of fencing was, I don't know, 25 or 30 bucks. This will be the third one that I built out of it. We still have a bunch of fence left over. Overwintering garden thing that we do. When I'm stripping those tomato plants, before I pull them out, we take all the fruit and they go in a bucket. Yes, they're green. Yes, they're rotten. But the chickens will eat them. And so the idea behind it is there's nothing that I can do about the fact that the fruit is dead. It's going to stay dead regardless. But the choice that I have is in what I do with the fruit. I can leave it on the vine and I can let the field mice eat it and just let it go to nothing and it'll rot away. Or I can bring it over here and dump it for the chickens. And they're not going to eat all of it. I don't expect that they would. However, what they don't eat, bugs will come in. The bugs will provide more food for the chickens. Option 2 is I leave it where it is and it feeds the mice, or it just rots. Option 3 is I leave them on the branches when I drag it over to compost, and it goes to, and you can see sometimes I do that. Just depends on how much time I have and what I'm trying to do at the time. But I guess the idea is to use as much as you can of what you have. The more inputs that I can keep here, or the more outputs that I can turn into inputs, or inputs that I can turn into outputs. So the idea behind that is wasted tomatoes, wasted fruit are an output, or fruit is an output of the plant. I use that as the input into a different food source, I guess. So same idea here. This is the straw bedding that's left over in the brooder that we had. This was used for getting the new egg birds up to age that they could be put out with the other girls. And then we also use this as a holding place when we were slaughtering the meat birds. So there's a lot of straw, there's a lot of chicken poop. It's going to go into compost. It's going to act as nitrogen into the compost, and it's also going to act as a whole lot of carbon input. Mix that with the greens from the tomato stuff that we just put in there. So nitrogen, plus we're adding nitrogen here. We're taking an output and we're then processing it out there, and it'll turn into compost, which we can then use as an input over here. So it's free fertilizer. That's just a long way of saying that, but I thought I would try and explain the purpose and all that.